Greetings, this is Calcat, the Calcatster. And tonight it's December, it's Saturday, and it's nearing the second anniversary of Doomsday. So we decided to do a special episode, or I decided to do one where I would discuss the Mayans again, since it's been a while since we discussed the Mayans. Thought it would be funny. So I'm going to speak on here, and then we're going to cut intersperse throughout. Clint Cowpoke over there. And, okay, so I actually found a Mayan prophecy truther. Somebody that thought the Mayan prophecy was going to happen. A very own resident, well, not resident, but a very own former minion, who Jim Ticon, who thought that the 2012 Mayan thing would bring about the end of the world, which is interesting. So I asked him since I couldn't find any other people who were still buying the story, I thought it would be interesting to have a conversation with him in the mall today concerning the whole Doomsday prophecy people and Nostradamus and that kind of thing. And the general consensus I got from the interview was that, and we don't have footage of it, but what was that, like many of the other people out there that thought it was going to happen, he was under the assumption that Nostradamus had predicted it, the Mayans had predicted it, and a number of other false prophets had predicted it. So therefore, because there were other false prophets that predicted it, Nostradamus, that he assumed were prophets, it should have happened. However, it did not happen. It certainly didn't, otherwise we would not be recording the Calcat Show now. It would be gone and we'd be obliterated in the rapture. This is Clint Cowpoke, standing up here from planet Nibiru. Yep, planet Nibiru. I went to the planet, and here I am. The aliens that are here with their probes, they want to put it on their butts, just like back in the day. Yep, just like that weird video we filmed. Just kidding, I'm not on planet Nibiru. But I tell you all about, you know what? That darn fool America Unearthed guy, you know what? Yeah, he was up in the foothills up there. Yeah, with his camera crew. In the foothills over there. Alum Rock Park area. Look, we found the rock formation. It's hilarious. This is a guy that thinks like goofy stuff, you know, about the world. Thinks, he's got some weird ideas about how people settled America. Mainly he finds a lot of colonial sites all over America and goes, no, ancient Viking people must have built this, or let's discount the Native Americans that, you know, they didn't do it. Ancient Vikings or Mayans or something. Mayans from Miami and stuff. It's like, what the heck is that guy's problem? Anyway, he was up there looking at them stone things the settlers built. Portuguese settlers built. Spanish settlers. When California was a Spanish colony. Now, he's convinced that somehow the natives built the rock walls of the Alum Rock, some of which come over down at Edlin Park, some of which are in Santa Cruz, and some of which large rock formations, some of which go all the way up to Berkeley, the Berkeley stones. Yeah, so I know all about them, all of them, and seen the stones, the rocks. A lot of those are settler things, though. Those are settler markers from the Spanish and the Portuguese. So they're nothing mysterious about them. They if you ask the people in the park, the county park, they're like, oh yeah, we put them there. Well, I didn't. I'm not Spanish or Portuguese, but the park people know who did it. The people before the white settler, before the Europeans from England and us and the U.S. Bought out the area and then sort of hornswoggled them out of the deal, actually. And we came over and we sort of forgot that that's where it came from. But They were settlers. It's not that old. It is interesting, though, that these rock formations seem to be everywhere. And they were marking territories and land masses and things and where water was and that kind of thing. Because on this side of the hills, you got very dry and arid all the way up the other side of the bay. On that side, it's a little more wet, so they're more hidden. Yeah, they were marking well trails, rock trails, places to find water, stuff like that, where it was drier and more arid. That's all it is. There are a lot of them, though. They're weird and mysterious, you know, but they're not aliens, and they're probably Native American too. They're probably built on old Native American Ohlone stuff. So yeah, there's nothing too mysterious about that. So. Anyway, Cowcat's talking about 2012 as well, and I thought I'd throw that in there for the rant there. And Native Americans and things like that, and those Native Mexican, the Mayans. Jim being a Mormon, I being a Presbyterian, I found that rather odd because in even Mark's Cards, atheist, he considers none shall know the time or date of his return, his glorious return. Even he knows, you know, that says in Revelation. That literally we don't know when God is supposed to return to Earth. So even there, so that if you completely obey that, then by those rules, you don't have a doomsday. No person on Earth can come along and say it's doomsday if you completely believe in that. Now, if you don't believe in that, then I suppose you could be worried about the end of the world that allegedly was going to happen on December 21st in 2 years ago. Obviously it didn't. Mark's Cards and I were on the set, the Cowcat show, that evening. It was Thursday and Friday, so we did a Doomsday episode, which it didn't happen. So yeah, I think it was also a Saturday. Yeah, it was like 3 days. Did a Doomsday special. We did several other earlier specials in 2012 to go over the 2012 thing. Now, so far, there were other avenues that were messed up. The thinking being that apparently they were convinced, and what's interesting about the soothsayers now is that they're convinced that somehow the Mayans lied to them. But actual Mayans, as I pointed out to Jim, actual Mayans, there are some descendants left of the Maya and the Inca and those groups. They haven't actually died out. So them saying that they died out is inaccurate. There are some descendants of the Maya. And they looked at the thing and said, this is a calendar. It's a very accurate calendar. You know, the primitive man was capable of making a very accurate calendar that has thousands of years above, you know, it's sort of like a galactic calendar. So it's not like a monthly calendar, it's a solar calendar. But it's a galactic calendar, and it allows them to see the precession of the actual zodiac as they saw it from where they were, in Mexico. And also the precession of different stars and star groups through that constellation thing. They figured out that there were these Baktuns, that every so often, there were after several thousands of solar cycles, so thousands of years, they would recycle. Now, of course, their society was not that old, but they figured this out. They weren't that old. They were Stone Age, but they weren't pre-Ice Age Stone Age. They were post-Ice Age Stone Age. Yeah. So they were later. They were later than the Egyptians even, but they had figured this out. And they weren't actually related to the Egyptians. They were just later. And so they figured this out. And they never said it was a doomsday calendar. They said this is a calendar. It will, and the Baktuns will switch every so often. And they were nearing the end of the 12th Baktun. And now we're in the 13th Baktun as of 2 years ago. So for another 500,000 years or whatever, you're in Baktun. I went over the Mayans earlier. I said this calendar and the Baktuns, and it's 500,000 years. Yeah, so, but yeah, the Baktun, so yeah, I knew about that. Actually, I looked it up on the interwebs. But yeah, I knew about it anyway. And what's funny is you could go on the interwebs, not just on the Wikipedia, but you can go on the interwebs and type in, I want to find a Mayan who actually is still alive, discussing the whole thing. You'll find one or two right away, or several others. They're still alive. They're not gone. They keep saying, "Oh, the Mayans are gone." We've been there before. We've done this story. This is an update. Now, the Mayans, some of them are still there. Their descendants are still there, and they're like, "Yeah, we know what this is. It's a calendar. It's not a doomsday machine. It's a calendar." Yeah. And yeah, so it doesn't mean anything. Jim DeCon, he thought that world should end because he didn't like the world too much. That's a little depressing, but it's like, no, the world wasn't going to end because a bunch of people said the world was going to end. There was no world going to end. That camping guy was wrong in Hero Camping in 2011. It meant his doomsday. Camping died later on. And they've been doing this stuff for years and years. Everybody, every 3 or 4 years, 5 years will pass, and they'll have another one. 3 or 4 or 5 years before, and 10 years before, there's a Comet cult, and the Waco cult, and these other groups that wanted to go, and Doomsday is going to happen anytime, we got to escape and die or something. And it's like, no, that's stupid, because it ain't going to happen. None shall know the hour and time and date of his glorious return. This is not just from Revelation, but also Ezekiel and Daniel. But yeah, if you don't believe in such things, then you shouldn't believe in the other thing neither. Now, there's probably atheists out there that wouldn't say, okay, that's your no, don't want to have that. They're fine. They don't follow that thing in Revelation. But they also believed in the other thing. They believed in the Doomsday thing. It's like, you can't have it both ways. If you don't believe in the one thing, you might as well not believe in the other thing. It's a false correlation of Occam's razor in reverse. You can't. Occam's razor, of course, is a scientific principle that anything that is probable is probably true, but anything that's but if it seems impossible, it probably isn't. Something like that. And so, but yeah, I don't profess to know the whole deal there. Does seem a bit strange, but yeah, the premise of these shows like America Unearthed with Walter out there pretending like he's a Indiana Jones is funny because when somebody like that says they know more history than the next person is, it's just silly. A forensic geologist, that's interesting. And he could say, well, you're not a forensic geologist, you don't have a degree in that neither. Yeah, but I'm not going around saying I do. We have a degree in that. We got degrees in other things, but not in that. But yeah. And of course, our group was the group that discovered that they messed up on the college campus. They was going to build a new building. We discovered that through geology in our science class, we actually discovered they shouldn't put the building there. Told the science people. They're building the building. Because the earthquake fault came down Alum Rock right through the middle of the campus. And they're all, because we knew the earthquake fault was there, and we said, hey, what if that? Yep. So there we go. Yeah, we discovered that. Calcat did, actually. Yeah. And he's like, wait a minute, they can't put that over there. And the professor took the credit, of course. But yeah, so there's always going to be some group saying Doomsday is going to happen when it isn't. Yeah. Somebody's always going to say that. And Nostradamus didn't predict nothing. Bullshit. Didn't predict nothing. We got a bunch of quatrains out there together to make, quatrains, Spanish stuff, whatnot. That's like... He was French, incidentally, and I had the century wrong. It was actually 18th, not 13th. But yeah, he was, which is interesting because they like to put Waterloo with him too. And it's like, no, I already think Waterloo was around before him. That don't make any sense. It's like, no, he wasn't predicting that. But yeah, he wasn't. That's a term in French. That doesn't mean Napoleon. It just happened to be where he was. Nostradamus never said anything about the Mayans or that was a Jim. He said, "Oh, really? Nostradamus didn't say anything about that." No, they added a lot of stuff about Nostradamus to a lot of things in between 2010 and 2012, and in the 80s they did too when they had other Doomsday stuff, and in the 90s they've been attributing him to a lot of stuff, including that tower thing and stuff like that, and saying, "See, this proves the conspiracy of the tower thing." No, the actual 9/11 had nothing to do with Nostradamus. It was something else entirely. 9/11 did happen. I was a terrorist. It had nothing to do with Nostradamus. He did not predict it. That was a guy in Berkeley who was running a scientific experiment to see whether people would believe bullshit. And they did. And then he said later, no, I made that up. He did. So yeah, it was bull. So yeah, which is what Clint Cowpoke was trying to point out. So the Baktuns continued, and yeah. Now, so the Mayans, and they said, yeah, this is not. The Spaniards took the calendar back with them, and they messed with it. And the tablet they keep showing is not the calendar, and the written one is not the calendar. It's this other thing. So they got that wrong. A bunch of people went out to an island to see an eclipse. Spent a lot of money and went out there. The eclipse did not happen on this island off the coast of Mexico, South America, whatever. It happened in Australia and Africa. Oops. There was like an eclipse and there was a solar conjoinment. There was actually no major solar planetary conjoinment except for Venus during 2012. There was some asteroids near the Earth around 2012, and one of them crashed and burned up the atmosphere. A little asteroid, but not Doomsday type asteroids. It was just small ones. Also, like every December, late December, like right now, with the solar system comes in front of the galactic center, and gravity is not affected by that, by us floating into the gravity. It simply means we are in what is called winter, and winter shortest day of the year in winter. So that's all that is every December 21st. Also, the planet Nibiru, or Niribu, never came. No planet Nibiru. I'm not operating from the planet Nibiru now, or from the spaceship. And, yeah, so no planet Nibiru. Nibiru, whatever. That didn't come by. There was no planet. Yeah, it's sort of like California was a territory before it was a state. California was a Mexican territory. Mexico, a lot of the Nevada was too. New Mexico, of course, Arizona, and they're all part of that. And Colorado, and yeah, So yeah, it's like these guys like this America Unearthed feller come out and go like, I don't understand this weird formation I found, like a Kensington stone. So ancestors that said, oh, that's definitely BS. That's bullshit right there. Those ancestors, they know when it was put there. They're all like, hey, we put that there. We wanted to drum up tourist attraction. We wanted people to come to see it. And the Doomsday thing goes with the premise of the other guys too, and we can ramble about that for a bit. But it's like, yeah, there's always settlements. It isn't that the Native Americans were superseded by the Chinese who came over in boats. It's that genetically some Native American cultures are partly Chinese, because a long time ago, now the creationists might go, no, that couldn't happen, but no, we're not going to go there. No, they came over the land bridge, they walked over, thousands of years ago at the end of the Ice Age, and sometimes a little bit before. And when they came over, the Native Americans came over from Siberia and China, and they settled in the Americas. And their descendants are the Native Americans. They're actually Siberian people, Mongolian people, Chinese people. That's why they look like them. Now, there were other groups later on, but some of these theorists are wrong about that. And they're like, oh, in 1200 AD or 1422 or something. Well, that guy was full of it. But no, they didn't come over in boats. And if they did, they came over in Polynesian boats, or they hopped islands, or they came over, followed Alaska and Russia, and sort of came down like in smaller boats. They didn't cross the Pacific. In other words, they sort of cheated up around it or alongside it. Yeah, because their ships weren't strong enough to make the journey. The Vikings also did the same thing, hopping along the polar areas up there around Iceland and Greenland, in which it's not that far to hop from one place to the next to the next. And that American Earth show was all saying, like, oh well, how do you explain the runestone and all that? Well, first of all, the runestone's fake, so that's out of the question. And the other Viking things are probably fake later, because the Scandinavian settlers from the colonial times settled in the Minnesota area, and they're like, we want to make ourselves look important, so we're going to pretend like the Vikings that we know settled up in Canada came here too. So we're going to put this stuff from some of us down here. That's the big deal. So it was colonial, all of it. Which is interesting, but it's colonial, it's not old. And it certainly isn't space aliens from planet Nibiru, or whatever. Not space aliens. Yeah, so, there you got it. Didn't happen. Now, it was interesting that when Jim brought up the whole thing, that he wanted the Doomsday to happen, so that the world would seem simpler. So that the world would begin to notice him. So many of these people had the same thought. The people. So there was a awakening. Ooh, well, it wasn't an awakening. It was they realized they were wrong. It's not an awakening. That's a realization. But not a revelation really. More like a realization. Some people want there to be mystery in life to explain the unexplainable. So by saying, oh, it's going to be a doomsday, then they don't have to worry about the future. Or if they, or get the reverse, and they want to worry all the time about the future. They figure if they have doomsday, then that no longer matters. They can do whatever they want. Or they can do, and that doesn't work, because you don't have doomsday working like that. So, and it didn't. So we're still here. Everyone's still here, and that's the way it is. So yeah, Doomsday. So that was Cal Cat, my part of that, and now I'll switch it over to Clint Cowpoke.
Yeah.
So I'll just end this rant right here. Then I'll just end it. I'll just say that yeah, not Doomsday. Wasn't gonna be. It's 2 years now. No Doomsday. Not any sign of it. Another thing Jim said was, briefly, before this thing conked out, another thing he said was, well, how come, what about more disasters? I said, well, actually, you notice the disasters have slowed down. There haven't been that many reports of, like, major disasters in the last year. So, they just reported them more because they thought they should. So, well, there's something happening in the world all the time. Oh, no, the Koreans, for instance. North Korea decided to get mad over a stupid movie. What's the deal with that? Anyway, it was like they didn't get mad the other 3 times we made fun of them in a movie. Why did this one so important? I don't know. But anyway, this is Clint Cowpoke signing off from the land of the Berkeley Wall.